Major Eloisa Martin, Divisional Leaders of the Salvation Army Hawaiian and Pacific Islands. Welcome, Eloisa and Jeff. How are you?
Fine. Thank you for having us here on your program today.
Oh, it's always nice to have you with us. Now, share with us a little bit, perhaps, of yourselves, how you became the division leaders of the Salvation Army Hawaiian and Pacific Islands, and what you do for the islands and the community.
Okay. Well, I have been a Salvation Army officer now for just over 40 years.
That's it?
That's it. And it's been my life's work. It's something I love to do. I started attending the Salvation Army when I was in the Air Force a very long time ago. And after going through the training college, of course, we're commissioned or ordained and sent to someplace. And they sent my wife and I to Lahaina, Maui.
Oh, nice.
Where we really enjoyed our ministry there. So many wonderful experiences we had there in leading the work of the Army there. After that, the Army sent us various places around the world and around the country. And just about almost 3 years ago, we came back again to Hawaiian and Pacific Islands as the divisional leaders.
That's great. What did you do abroad? Were you doing similar work here, or is it more?
Similar work.
Yeah.
I was the pastor or corps officer of a Salvation Army church or corps in Olongapo City in the Philippines.
Oh, wow.
And after that, we went to the training college where we're training new officers there in the Philippines. And I was the assistant principal, and my wife was the finance officer.
Okay.
And of course, we were busy teaching every day for the cadets in the training program.
Wow, that's a great experience you folks had together, and so much wisdom that you've gathered along the way to be the division leaders now.
Thank
Wonderful.
you.
Yeah, and tell us, Salvation Army. We know it's been an icon in our community for so long, but your organization has grown to include so much more social services, different programs, and community outreach than I think people realize. What are some things that you want to highlight for us today?
Well, I'd like to first of all say that we've been here for 126 years now.
That's a long time.
Last year we had our 125-year celebration.
Right.
The Salvation Army was invited here by the Central Union Church. And then our first corps was in Hilo. And from there we spread across the state.
Right.
And here in the Honolulu area we had an orphanage for girls and then later an orphanage for boys. They both ran simultaneously up in the Manoa Valley area. And that was a very big need at the time. So the Salvation Army has always tried to figure out what is the need of the community and then address those needs. So eventually the orphanage was no longer needed, but in that same facility where the boys' home was eventually moved to Kaimuki, we started a new program, a drug and alcohol treatment program for women who have small children. It's the only program in the state that allows women to go through their drug treatment program and keep their children with them.
That's great.
So what we've tried to do wherever we go is find out what the needs are and then meet those needs. And we've been doing that here in the Hawaiian and Pacific Islands for over 125 years now. Each island has a little bit different flavor as far as what they offer. But every corps or community center, they'll have their church services, their youth programs, sometimes senior programs, and they'll have some sort of outreach for helping sometimes to feed the homeless or a food pantry, just something to help the people in our community who are struggling.
Right. Well, that's quite a legacy. And you address the homeless community and those needing, assistance and shelter. I mean, how are you folks able to participate in that?
Oh, we do it in a variety of ways.
Yeah.
We have our Pathway of Hope program, which is operated out of our facility on on Ala Street and Vineyard. And the Pathway of Hope is designed to help people from wherever we find them to get on a pathway to find a better way for their life. So we find someone who's struggling with drug addiction. We get them into our drug treatment programs. After that, we get them into housing. We have a transitional housing where many of our graduates live. And while they're in transitional housing, they can go to college or they can get a job. And during that time, they continue to have some interaction with their counselors so that they stay on track. And all of these programs receive funding from the community, some of them from government, and we just are using those programs to help alleviate homelessness. Because what we find out is that many of the people who are homeless are also drug addicted. And so if we can get them out of their drug addiction and onto a pathway where they can find hope for their lives, then that's the first step in making them productive members of society again.
And it's great that you're treating the person and perhaps whatever is holding them back from being a productive member of society. I think the city has one facet to contribute to, and that's trying to create housing. But what happens after that, right? After they're in that shelter, I mean, does it mean that they're going to go out there and get a job and start paying rent? I mean, there's a lot that goes into treating the person.
Yes.
Like you said, providing a pathway to hope.
Yeah. And we try to make sure that they are in a supportive community where they can have support of people that really care for them.
Right.
And one of our programs that we have here too, it's a fairly new program, is our Revolution Hawaii.
Oh,
it's
okay.
A young adult discipleship program.
Right.
And these are young adults who come from the islands and from the mainland and all over the world. And so they come and they do outreach ministries on the street of Honolulu or Waianae and Waialua. And so they study the Bible, they learn how to live humbly, and they volunteer in some of the agencies in the program in the city, not just Salvation Army. And then on Sundays, when they have their church program, they have homeless people that come. They make peanut butter and jelly sandwich.
Oh, that's nice.
And then they go out and just minister to the homeless people. They build relationships with them. And so when they get to know them, when they are ready to make a change in their lives, they're able to refer them to one of our programs. So these are young adults. It's a gap
I know,
year.
that's great. I was going to ask, how is Salvation Army staying relevant to our younger generation? But I guess that's the answer.
Yes.
Get them involved, right?
Yes.
How do they find out about this program?
Through the word of mouth and also social media. They have their own website, and people that have, it actually started when we were here in 2005, and it has gone bigger and bigger. And so now, instead of in Manoa, they are now at our Camp Humalani in the North Shore, and they go out into the communities.
So it's great that you have this available for young adults, and our listener base is kupuna and their families, but I'm sure they can always make a recommendation to their grandkids, their grandnieces, nephews. Hey, go check out Salvation Army, and it's called the Revolution
Hawaii. And they do minister to the kupunas.
Yeah.
They go to Waialua because that's where we have our senior housing.
Right.
And and so they minister to the seniors that are homeless.
Right.
And they really do whatever it is that is needed to be done in the community.
That's great.
Just to reach out to them.
And they pay for the privilege of coming here and doing that.
Oh, they have to raise funds.
They have to raise funds in order to come here and do this, and then they live on next to nothing while they're here. They're learning to live humbly and very frugally, and just stay on mission and devote their lives to, devote that 1 year
Right.
to really serving God in a powerful way. And then the idea is they go back to their communities
Right.
and they begin to try to make a difference around them where they live there.
That's great.
And they experience homelessness as soon as they get here. They go out.
Oh, you're not saying
stay.
they become homeless.
No,
You're saying- okay.
no.
Okay,
They
sorry.
experience how to be a homeless
Yeah.
person.
Okay.
They go out and they sleep for a week
Yeah.
and get to know the homeless people.
The
Actually on
Actually.
site.
Yeah, the
On
director,
Wow.
some that we've seen on a couple of occasions where the director of the program, he brings them somewhere and they do some ministry and he say, okay guys,
We'll see.
We'll see you next week.
I'll see you next week. And they have no money,
Wow.
they have no blankets, they have only the clothes on their back, and they know, they've been warned about this is coming, they just don't know when it's coming. And so they have nothing to prepare. They're in the same situation as all the homeless people out there. They get to know them, they get to know what's going on in their lives,
Yeah.
and then many times they're able to make a difference. They've had some where they go back week after week and pray with individuals, and they've had some who have, as a result of the trust that they've gained in that building that relationship, that they've gone into one of our drug or
Rehab
alcohol
programs.
rehab programs.
Right.
And it's just exciting to see that kind of thing happen,
Wow.
and to know that these young people are seeing God working in amazing ways.
Now, although these young people have raised their own support for, their cost of living and so forth, and participation in the program, you're still administering the program. So,
Mhm.
by people contributing and donating to Salvation Army here locally,
Yes.
I mean, there's in a sense helping to support this kind of ministry activity.
Yes.
Yes, that's right.
Now, we're going to get to this more later on, but if somebody wanted to find out more about Salvation Army, either online or just to give you a call, maybe even donate to one of your programs, how can they do that?
The best way is go to hawaii.salvationarmy.org,
Okay.
and from that website you can find places to direct your donations or to volunteer. You can also call the Salvation Army. There's numbers there that you can call if you'd rather not do it there.
Okay.
And just give us a call. Use a mailing address and send in your donation. There's many ways, but we depend a lot on the community because their support allows us to do the things that we're doing to make a difference every day.
So good. Well, when we come up after this commercial break, I wanted to talk a little bit about how you're trying to continue to keep your programs running despite the pandemic, and maybe adapt for that to put on things like your kettle drive, your fundraising, but how you try to stay relevant even in this time. So we'll talk more about that right after this commercial break. Continue to keep your programs running despite the pandemic, and maybe adapt for that to put on things like your kettle drive, your fundraising, but how you try to stay relevant even in this time. So we'll talk more about that right after this commercial break.
Okay.
Welcome back. If you just joined us, we have Major Jeff and Eloisa Martin, division leaders of the Salvation Army, Hawaiian and Pacific Islands. Right before the break, great stories about some of your programs that you folks have. But I want to dive in because when people say, when you mention the name Salvation Army, right off the bat, we're thinking holidays, the kettles, angel tree. You have your Thanksgiving dinner, the meal. So, we're in 2020. Obviously, we're every organization, every business is being affected and having to deal with COVID. How are you folks adjusting to this time?
Well, thank you for that question. We're doing the best we can to adjust and still provide valuable service to the community. Our Thanksgiving service that we provide at Blaisdell every year in cooperation with the mayor's office, this would have been our 50th year.
Wow.
And we're not allowed to do it because we could only have up to 50 people. We seat for 2,000
Right.
typically.
Right.
And since we can only have up to 50, we decided we've got to somehow change it up and do something different. And so what we've done is we've distributed all of the programs to the various corps. So each one will be doing something. And between the 3 units that are providing Thanksgiving meals and assistance, we'll be providing nearly 4,000 meals this year. Some of it will be delivered. Some of it will be, they'll come to our place of service and pick it up. And some will be drive-through. And so we're doing a combination of things, but the need is tremendous. And so we believe we'll be serving approximately 4,000. That's just on the island of Oahu. Across the state, we'll be serving many additional meals as well.
And so, how are these, the past recipients of these meals? Obviously things have changed. How are they getting word out, or how are they finding out about that these meals are still happening?
They have.
Go ahead.
Oh, some of them in the Honolulu area, they have gone to the different housing areas, housing apartments, and contacted the managers, and they distributed flyers to them.
Okay.
Some on social media, and also on our website. And we gave them the phone numbers and to call or go onto online, and they can let them know, that we are distributing prepared meals or food bags on the day or before.
Well, it's great to hear that it hasn't stopped the Thanksgiving meal, because again, Thanksgiving is a time where families come together, everyone comes together, and they just are just celebrating time together. But I want to ask, knowing that it hasn't affected Thanksgiving, what about your other fundraisers, like the Angel Tree and the Kettlebell? How is that? How are those programs or fundraising activities still going?
We will continue to do the bell ringing in some of the locations that we are still allowed to do it, but through COVID, we need to follow the restrictions, the precautions that are in place. We also have the virtual kettles. And we encourage our members, our board members, our advisory organizations to host kettles, virtual kettles, and they can do it online and ask their friends to support them. And on social media, we continue to do it on social media, as well as the virtual Angel Tree. Walmart has that. This is a national agreement with Walmart. And so we are so fortunate that they have allowed us not just the kettle, but also the Angel Tree.
We also have QR codes at various locations where we would have had our kettles, and people could just scan the QR code and have a contactless way of providing a donation.
That's great. Being socially responsible and distant while still contributing.
Yes.
Can you share with us a little bit of how much do you depend on the Kettle Drive and these fundraisers to support your budget? Because you guys have a lot of programs. In the first half, we talked about, just an overview of them. But there's so much that goes into funding these things. So how critical is it that you guys raise the money for this?
It's very critical because not only do we provide assistance for people at Christmas time with toys and other things, food and so forth, but the money that we raise at Christmas through the kettle programs is then allocated throughout the year because people are in need all year long.
Right.
And there's people that we're serving with food and hot meals throughout the year. So by allocating this money to our budget so it lasts the whole year, then we're able to serve people the whole time. But the problem is with the restrictions we have because of COVID, we're not sure how well we're going to do in raising money this year. This is something brand new to us. We've never had to do it this way. So we're really expecting and asking our community to step up and do what they can to support us so that the Salvation Army will be able to march strongly into 2021.
And again, how can they do that? I mean, aside from going to the website and doing a donation, if we could promote these activities, how can we do that?
Well, they can always send a check in the mail.
Right.
They can. Some people receive solicitations through the mail from the Salvation Army, and they can respond to those. They can go to our website at hawaii.salvationarmy.org, and they can begin a donation right through that site.
Are we able to, let's say, put a virtual kettle on our Facebook page or
Yes.
on our
Yes.
Instagram
Matter of fact,
page?
you can put
Yes.
one on your Facebook page.
I'm gonna do that.
All
So
right.
Yes.
now you look like a very smart and technical guy, Major Jeff. Do you know how to do that?
I'm not that smart and technical, but you know what? I have people that work in my office and they're smart and technical.
They do that all day, right?
Yeah.
So okay.
And
Okay.
they can
But they can probably go to your
Facebook page.
and maybe share it.
I
on
share
there,
a lot.
right?
I share a lot of
Okay.
all our fundraising on my Facebook page and my official Facebook page.
Okay, that's great.
Yeah.
Now let's talk a little bit about maybe Kupuna specific programs that you folks might be currently doing. What are things you can share?
For our Kupuna programs, our core, our different units, they serve the seniors in their churches. One of the things that we didn't get to do this summer is we always have a day camp, Kupuna Day at camp, where we gather from the different senior centers. One day, we used to do it on a weekend,
Okay.
but because of our camp, and some Kupunas don't like to stay overnight,
especially in bunk beds.
in bunk beds.
Oh.
So-
I don't think they're going for the top bunk anymore.
No,
They're
no.
like, I get the bottom bunk. Okay.
And so we had to do a day
Right.
at camp, and we were making plans for that, but we had to not do it this last summer.
Right.
But we continued to, some of our core officers, they continued to visit our kupunas.
Okay.
At the onset of COVID-19, we received a lot of phone calls for kupunas that are homebound. So we have volunteers and our officers who are delivering every week food to our kupunas. And we get phone calls in our office. And
Now, is that something that you folks are set up to do, or you just do
We just
what
did
you
it.
can?
we did it. And
And we also do community care.
community care
ministries.
ministries, that's the one I was mentioning about. We visit the rest homes, but we cannot do that anymore. So we just bring the gifts and an article or a magazine for them to read, and something that they can use, for Christmas.
And then the staff will help us
Help
by
them.
distributing it to
Yeah,
the
and we used to be able to give it and just visit with the seniors.
Right. Now, of course, we're taking precautions.
Yes, yes.
Well, Major Jeff Martin and Major Eloise Martin, we're so honored to have you in our program, and
Thank
you
you.
guys are just such a blessing to the community. One more time, if they want to reach out to you for any of your services or to donate, how can they do that?
They can go to hawaii.salvationarmy.org, and they'll find a way to contact us and make their donation or find help if they need it.
That's great.
And we want you to help us to rescue Christmas this year.
That's right.
Right.
We're part of the rescue operation team.
Yes, yes.
Well, thank you so much, Major Jeff and Major Eloise, for being on our program.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Brandon.
God bless.
Coming up next, we have our Kupuna Wiki Classic Trivia. And now we have our Kupuna Wiki Classic Trivia, brought to you by Cheney Brooks Choice Advisors.
The people of Hawaii consume the most of this canned good per capita in the United States. What is this deliciously dangerous canned good?
For a chance to win a Long's gift card, be the first person to call us with the correct answer at 808-792-5188. And we hope everyone is staying safe during this time. And remember, if you wanted to hear past episodes of Kupuna Wiki Radio, go to our website at kupunawiki.com, where you can also view all of our great service providers and how you can reach them. Or you can call 808-792-5188.
Again, we'd like to thank the segment sponsor, Cheney Brooks Choice Advisors, providing you with the best real estate information so you can make the most informed decisions. As they like to say, real estate is about choice. To contact them, call 808-753-9033.
Well, thanks for joining us today on the Kupuna Wiki Radio Show, Hawaii's senior resource. We strive to make sure our seniors are informed and supported every step of the way. Again, I'm Brandon.
And I'm Andrew.
And we'll see you back next time on the Kupuna Wiki Radio Show.